Heads up, Simcoe County. There's a risk of severe weather today, July 20th, 2022. We're seeing a cold front march across southern Ontario, and this cold front is going to be clashing with an air mass that's very unstable. Quite a bit of instability already being analyzed, and there's going to be a lot of wind shear, both directional wind shear and speed shear as well. Along the cold front, we have a chance to see some severe thunderstorms, and there's a more enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms for western parts of Simcoe County because of that cold front. That's the main trigger we're expecting for today's events. Along the cold front, there's also going to be an increase in wind shear. You may see some severe weather breakout along that cold front. There's a risk of hail, damaging winds, and possible tornadoes. Ahead of the cold front, there's a more marginal risk of severe weather. There's a risk of some isolated severe thunderstorms, or you may see some clusters of severe thunderstorms. You may see an isolated supercell, and that's going to depend on whether thunderstorms are able to develop ahead of the cold front. If we have some lake breeze convergence, or maybe lake breezes converging with an old outflow boundary, then you'll see those thunderstorms develop, and you may get some severe weather out of these. There's already enough energy and in some areas enough wind shear for severe weather. But we're really expecting this to pick up when that cold front starts to march closer to Simcoe County. Now we're going to take a quick look at what's being analyzed right now on the NWS. Actually, the Storm Prediction Center has a mesoscale analysis that we can look at to see the conditions right now. So it looks like also a line of thunderstorms affecting northern Ontario, just north of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. The southern part of that thunderstorm line is now approaching the Bruce Peninsula. So we're going to be watching to see if what develops when this comes on shore. The air mass over the lakes has a cap right now. This is probably due to the fact that the waters are cool, and these thunderstorms are obviously surviving through this air mass anyway. Even though the waters are a bit cool and there's a bit of a cap, the thunderstorms are surviving, which means the air is rising above the cap, and it's getting into the unstable part of the atmosphere where free convection is able to occur. I'm a little bit concerned as well about this area, like northeast of Simcoe County, where we've got energy over 3,000 joules. There's even an area where 3,500 joules is being registered. If a thunderstorm is triggered in this area, you may see some severe weather, and that's also going to depend on some of these other parameters that I'm going to look at. Now let's take a look at the wind shear first. Surface to 1 kilometer. That's going to tell us if there's a sufficient amount of wind shear for a tornado, because most tornadoes are going to be starting at the surface, right? So actually all tornadoes are going to be starting at the surface. So it looks like right around Georgian Bay, when we're focusing on Simcoe County, has the highest wind shear in this layer right now. 20 knots right along the shoreline there. Okay, so now we're looking at surface to 3 kilometer wind shear, and this will tell us if there's sufficient amount of wind shear for the development of a rotating thunderstorm. So in the Simcoe County area right now, the wind shear is a little bit lower in this layer. There is an area 25 knots near Georgian Bay. It looks like it's between 20 to 25 knots in the Simcoe County area right now. So it is actually a little bit higher than the surface to 1 kilometer shear, but we need to really see the shear get above about 30 knots for the development of some rotating thunderstorms. Even for just your regular severe thunderstorm, you still want to see the wind shear get above 30 knots. And let's look at the helicity just for completeness. Helicity gives you the potential for winds in the atmosphere to rotate. And usually I like to see the helicity get above 150 meters squared per second squared. That's going to tell you there's a serious chance of a tornado. And right now, over Simcoe County, we do see some areas where the helicity is between 50 and 100. Closer to Georgian Bay, it's between 100 and 150. And that's why I had an enhanced risk of severe weather closer to Georgian Bay, because the conditions look like they'll be a little more impressive in western Simcoe County. Plus, we'll have that trigger with the cold front slicing through the area during the late afternoon. So the helicity here between 100 and 150 over Georgian Bay is getting close to what I'd like to see for something like a tornado outbreak. But there's still some room for this to grow. And of course, we want to see the areas with the highest helicity coming on shore. Unless, of course, you'd like to look out over Georgian Bay and see a thunderstorm produce a water spout. Oops, that was shear. So helicity between the surface and 3 kilometers. This is going to tell us if we have the potential to see rotating thunderstorms. Mesocyclone, some of you may know that term. Basically, you're rotating updraft inside of a thunderstorm. And again, moderate values across Simcoe County between 100 to 150 meters squared per second squared. So there's lots of room for these values to grow throughout the day. But I would still be looking for the highest chance of severe weather to be in the western parts of Simcoe County, just based on the fact that the cold front is coming. We have a trigger there. If there could be thunderstorms out ahead of that cold front, and they could clash with the lake breezes that develop during the day. And this could be another scenario for the development of severe weather. And I'll just turn on the Cape again. So out here, like to the north and to the east, even though we have an area where there's 3,000 to actually 3,500 joules of Cape, we're still looking for a trigger to get thunderstorms going out here. And from what I've seen, there's an opportunity for a little more wind shear to build into this area as well, because when you have a higher amount of energy like this, you need way more wind shear for the development of severe weather. So I said 150 meters squared per second squared of helicity was good, but when you increase the Cape, you may actually need some more helicity. You'll need like about 200 meters squared per second squared as you increase the amount of Cape. So I will be back later today with updates on severe weather. I may have a video if I decide to go out and chase severe weather, or if I decide to stick around in my area, then I'll be able to give some updates on severe weather and any hazards that I see in and around Simcoe County. So that's all for now. And thank you for listening to this heads up forecast for the risk of severe weather today across Simcoe County.